Joe Rogan and Volkanovski speak on Islam Makhachev. Alexander Volkanovski is looking at facing his toughest competitor yet, and it's obvious by the talks he had with Joe Rogan that he's been doing his research. Alexander Volkanovski and Islam Makhachev are set to be stepping into the octagon together, and this match has the UFC world shook. These guys will be competing for the pound-for-pound title belt, and it will be amazing to see how this insane match turns out. We saw what the new Islam Makhachev did to the legendary Charles Oliveira, which changed everyone's mind about Islam. But Volkanovski has been the pound-for-pound best in the UFC for some time now, and he's not planning on losing that title anytime soon. Not even against the great Islam Makhachev. There's a lot that goes into this matchup, and luckily for us, Joe Rogan had a sit down with the man himself, Alexander Volkanovski. It's actually shocking to hear what Volkanovski has to say and how respectful he is towards Islam Makhachev and his power in the octagon. It's obvious that Islam Makhachev has transformed into a whole new monster after his last match, and I really wonder what his... It's obvious that Islam Makhachev has transformed into a whole new monster after his last match, and I really wonder what him and his coach Khabib have to bring to the table this time around. It'll definitely be interesting to see no matter what, but after hearing Volkanovski talk more about it himself, it really changed my perspective on this match. There's a bunch to get into today about Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski, but we'll mainly be sticking to what Joe Rogan and Volkanovski spoke about on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. Be sure to stick around and watch this video until the very end as we get into things one detail at a time. Trust me when I say you won't want to miss a thing. Thanks for stopping by today and visiting us at Warrior Report. We post daily UFC news and updates that you really should know about if you're a fan. If you haven't already, be sure to leave a like and comment keyword UFC to enter a chance at winning our brand new iPhone giveaway. One lucky viewer is picked at the end of each month. Now, let's jump into this video and take a closer look at Joe Rogan and Alexander Volkanovski speaking on Islam Makhachev. Alexander Volkanovski is obviously a legend in the UFC industry and has been able to defend his pound-for-pound title belt time and time again. Most of us already know, but Alexander Volkanovski has shaped his martial arts game dramatically and literally has become one of the greatest fighters that the UFC has ever seen. Recently, Joe Rogan invited Volkanovski to his podcast for a second time, and as a true UFC fan, I must say that this podcast is one of the best I've seen in a while. It's always awesome watching Joe Rogan podcast with UFC guys, but Volkanovski's is truly special, especially with him having an upcoming match against the one and only Islam Makhachev. Islam's power is not underestimated once during this podcast. If anything, it's obviously recognized, and Alexander Volkanovski knows exactly what he's going up against, but still continues to show no sign of fear, only confidence in himself and his martial arts abilities. Joe Rogan is obviously super excited for this match. and is a huge fan of both competitors. But you can tell that Joe Rogan is kinda worried for Volkanovski, continuously pointing out how easily Islam Makhachev was able to submit the legendary and former champion Charles Oliveira. I must admit it was pretty scary and insane how Islam Makhachev literally controlled the whole match and finished a champ like Oliveira that easily. It's said that Islam's coach, the legendary Khabib Nurmagomedov, spent $1 million in his training camp to prepare Islam Makhachev to become a champion. And of course, right after Islam Makhachev won the match, Khabib was quick to take the microphone and announce that he and Islam are coming for the pound-for-pound title belt next. Coincidentally enough, Alexander Volkanovski was right there in the crowd and stepped into the octagon to hype up the upcoming match even more, and Khabib loved it. In Khabib's eyes, this is only the beginning of his prodigy Islam Makhachev's career, and he plans on taking things to a whole new level. He plans on getting both champion belts and keeping them for a long time. It's obvious that Khabib Nurmagomedov's tactics work, not only for him, but also for Islam Makhachev, and they have plans to continue taking over the UFC. Khabib is obviously a legend in the space, and everyone knows that for a fact. But that isn't enough for Khabib. He wants his prodigy Islam Makhachev to be recognized as a legend as well, and by the looks of it, the plan is working.